Hello, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on what time zone you're on. I want to welcome you to our, second presentation of our Linkville product. The difference between the first and the second is that I'm going to go into a little bit of a deeper dive on this one, where I'm going to show you sort of a partial roadmap on some of the things that we're going to be bringing to the marketplace under the Linkville name. Beyond that, I'm also going to go in and perhaps do an exterior as well as an interior setup screen to kind of get you really sort of familiar with some of the setups and getting our Wi-Fi phone to work. So with that said, I'm just going to wait for just another minute and I will go ahead and get started. People are just trickling in now. And what I wanted to say for the people who just came in on time, in the handout section of our GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar client is a soft copy. So I suggest that you go to the soft client and be able to download the handouts, and you'll get a soft client. You'll get a soft copy, a PDF copy of this presentation. So with that said, why don't I go ahead and move on to the next slide. With that mentioned, about a month ago, we introduced a new sub-brand called Linkville. And what Linkville is intended to do is to really, unravel the alphabet soup that's out there, because everybody is used to a lot of different, what we call code names or acronyms. You know, very often we come out with all of these names and numbers, and we thought that we're coming out with a whole brand new line of what we call wireless solutions. And instead of coming out with another name, how can you tell whether it's a wired phone or a wireless phone or wireless technology? We came up with a sub-brand called Linkville, which will then point you to a wireless solution that's offered by Fanville. It's very similar to how cars come out with different brand names on different models, and we're going to try to do the same to really simplify our solution selection on our menu for everybody else. And beyond that, we're going to also provide a little bit of a slightly deeper dive on the W611W, which is our portable Wi-Fi phone. That's our debut product that we're going to issue in Linkville, but there's a slide in this presentation that's going to bring you a little bit deeper into the other wireless product lines that we're going to come out with that's also going to be classified under the Linkville brand name. So with that said, I cannot assume that everybody's on board is familiar with Fanville, but for those who aren't, we're a major manufacturer that has factories located in China, and that this year really devotes to our 20th year anniversary, which is great. We were basically put in line about 2002, and 20 years later, we've really evolved to become an audio video endpoint or a SIP-based endpoint manufacturer. So what are endpoints? Very often it's the actual device that end users tend to touch, such as access controllers, telephones, and everything like that. But with that said, I figure a picture is worth 1,000 words. And let me go ahead and talk about the solution set that Fanville has come out with. For those in the past, our number one SIP line of business is our business phones. Very often we came out with some very distinctive designs. We're the first to come out with multiple displays on the platform, which has now sort of become sort of the industry standard today. Very often we have these designs that come with up and down buttons that sort of mimic many of the architecture and designs that we're actually replacing, so it minimizes many of the people's transition when they go from an old analog or a digital system into a SIP-based system. Beyond business phones, we also have a hospitality unit where we actually define endpoints that are very, very close to targeted for our hospitality marketplace. We put together phones that really are targeted there. We have differentiators of both narrowband and provide many different colors to suit that. Our third and most rapidly growing segment here is our SIP door access, intercoms, and public access units. And right here is really an overall description, or should I say a brief cliff note, as to all of these different solutions that we have here. We have intercoms of both indoor and outdoor, as well as access units that we describe here for door security. All of these units really comply to all the ruggedness as well as the necessity to have outdoor as well as indoor type specifications. Besides outdoor, we also have indoor stations here, which kind of provide a great overview or enhance the large displays to show who is at the door, who is at the gate. And this is really just an alternative platform that people can use to either mount on a wall or to actually mount on a desk if possible, to show who's out there without necessarily having a phone as an alternative solution to see who's out there and pushing a speed dial key. All of these things work hand in hand and interoperate with everybody. And obviously we have our public broadcasting system, a very, very popular unit where a lot of people use our PA2 to gain SIP access to many of the different public access environments around. But the concentration that I'm going to have today really surrounds the Linkville wireless portable phone. And the great news is with the Linkville wireless phone is that all of these devices here, indoor, outdoor access stations, as well as the portable phone, can be centrally managed from our FDMCS system that really is our device management system that allows you to sort of populate its specific MAC address so that you can go ahead and manage all of these systems under a central marketplace. Beyond that, we're also a global provider, providing really international exhibits throughout the world. We join everything from the UK and Europe, ISC West and channel partners here in the States, as well as many other conferences worldwide, just to really get our brand name out as well as our solution set moving forward. But in order for your local contact, all I suggest is that you can just contact our local sales department, send an email to sales, and that will reach us all. Now let's get down into the really crux of what I want to present today. It's a really brief discussion. Fanville introduced a sub-brand called Linkville, and many people may look at what is Linkville. Linkville is a sub-brand that's still marketed under the Fanville brand name, so you can go to the Fanville website and look under different brand names, and you'll see Linkville, and what we're going to show there is really our suite of wireless products. We're going to come out with a lot more products than just a portable phone, and I'm going to show that in the next slide. What I intend to show here is everything that's marked in green is what we intend to bring out with the whole Linkville name. The items that we show here in gray are things that are available today, whereas very often many people go ahead and have push-to-talk or PTT solutions that behave like walkie-talkies. They are all analog solutions where you have to have these transceivers that sort of operate sort of like a little mini CB radio out there that you can go ahead and communicate out to the world. And as everything begins to go from analog into a digital environment, we start to bring these type of duplicate devices as well under an IP environment. So what we intend to do beyond just the Wi-Fi phones, eventually we're going to be releasing things like Wi-Fi base stations. Obviously, because we recognize a huge demand in this. I mean, where can you go in North America and not find a residential or a business platform that doesn't have Wi-Fi access? You could walk into an ice cream shop, and ice cream shops will actually give you a specific Wi-Fi access. So demand out there is really huge, and this is the reason why we decided to go ahead and enter into this marketplace. Besides the Wi-Fi base stations, we also have what we call ROIP gateways here. And these ROIP gateways is really what we call radio over IP gateways. And the great idea is that all of these things are going to be tied into our central management system so that you can go ahead and manage all of these units from one central location, as well as provide many of the endpoints out there that you can go ahead and manage the location. Obviously, in the future, we're going to also have SIP-based or LTE-based things. I mean, very often we recognize that people want to have a backup system, so we might have an LTE environment that will give you that capability of having total remote as well as backup environments to go ahead and support your wireless deck. This gives you kind of a great idea on the direction that we're going that's going to be above and beyond many of the IP solutions that we offer today. So with that said in mind, I want to go ahead and provide some introduction to our portable phone, which is our W611W. Obviously, we still can't get away with model numbers, but at least to be under the Linkville name. This is something that we're going to go ahead and bring. Now, what I'm going to do different in this presentation is actually give you an idea of some external configurations as well as internal configurations moving forward. So with that stated, everything that I'm going to go ahead is really meant for durability. You know, what this is meant to do is that this is really meant to be IP67, built with the same level of durability as our door access products, which is meant to go ahead and handle, you know, be water resistant as well as dust proof throughout the external devices. We're going to have a push to talk button that provides you with a great idea of being able to have one button to press on here. But what the great news that I'm constantly hearing about these portable devices is, gosh, I wish these things have, you know, functional keys or DSS keys that we tend to call them, because that adds really the desk phone capability onto a portable device, which is something that we intend to bring on. And I'm going to show you externally how easy it is to access our function keys that really give you a nice design that enables you to handle everything one hand and done remotely. What we've done here is really put together a nice highlights. Not only is it going to be color screen, which you'll see shortly, but the great news is that the bottom of these devices is also powered by a USB-C port. Why is that important? Is because all of these phones come with a specific desk mount. And the idea is for this really thin device, you can actually throw this in your briefcase, in your purse, or what have you, and carry it wherever you can, because anywhere where there's a USB-C port, you can go ahead and charge this device and actually operate it in hotels, restaurant, cafes, businesses, all these different areas, and really support a, you know, remote operation using our device. And obviously with the ergonomic design, we're going to also be able to incorporate long-lasting battery, which I'll talk about more in the future. Obviously, to enhance audio capabilities, we put in our HD voice quality that we put into our desk phones in here, so that not only do we support static, but we also put dynamic codecs in here to support those areas that actually have challenges with low bandwidth, so that you can go ahead and contain good audio between both you know, high bandwidth as well as low bandwidth environments. Talked a little about protection levels. And this is great for harsh environments as well. In fact, I recall we actually did one expo when we introduced this device and actually put this phone in a water-based vase, showing that it could accept and take calls underwater, which is pretty great. And if, obviously, this has drop proof as well as dust proof this that has about a height of about 1.8 meters, or locally what we call about 6 feet. So you can go ahead and drop this from your waist. It does come with a belt clip that I'm going to show you, and that will all enable you to go ahead and do that moving forward. Beyond that, it's also a large capacity battery for all day usage. What we're specifying here is really a 9-hour talk time as well as a 200-hour standby time. So what we're doing here is really being able to give you all day capabilities of being able to be on your phone and have access to whatever Wi-Fi environment that you have, and that gives you more than ample capabilities of being able to go ahead and do that. We have our battery actually encased in dual casing with inside the phone, so that when you actually put it in, there's an actual case that protects it, as well as an external case that really incorporates this long-lasting capabilities of 9 hours and 200-hour standby. Now, talking about the various applications, obviously this could fit in a lot of different places. In the healthcare villa, I ask very often, can it work in a hotel? Very often it depends on what hotels you go into. You know, I spending many time in hotel environments. Very often you might have unprotected hotel environments where you can go ahead and sign on just by logging into the hotel. Some may give you a password, and some may ask you to register for a room. Now, in this case, we don't necessarily have a browser on this phone, but depending on what scenario you have. But very often, hotel staff may have an internal Wi-Fi access, which also provides quick push-to-talk type access to access all their staff, as well as all these different types of verticals. with that in mind, we'll talk about some enterprises. And here is where we start bringing in many of the different endpoint devices that we go ahead and put together. So coupled with the meeting room devices, as well as our access points, we also have the capability of having remote devices here for the W611W. Obviously, this is targeted for anybody who has remote capability of being able to not only answer phones, but traveling throughout the office, coupling with many of the different desk phones, as well as the indoor meeting room devices that you can go ahead and see what types of calls that you go ahead and need to entertain moving forward. Obviously, in a warehouse environment, you can go ahead and actually deploy our, obviously Wi-Fi access points that provide really remote access to these points here. This is pretty straightforward thing, but the idea here is that very often these things have to be ruggedized and clipped onto a belt. The great news is that these all support Bluetooth 5.0, so that very often many people that work in a warehouse can put in their earpods or whatever, earphones that they're used to, so that they can have remote control just from one location on being able to either pick up their phone or being able to listen to whatever calls they have remotely and keeping their hands free to go ahead and do their daily work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move on to the external demonstration and providing basic setup and updating firmware. Obviously, some of the other things I want to do is really updating the capability of showing how you could entertain push to dock, speed dial, as well as setting up multicast on the phone. So it's going to be both external as well as internal configuration. So what I've done is actually put together a camera that might show you some of the external setup here. So what I'm going to do is actually show you quick through my camera here that kind of gives you an idea of what this camera looks like on the phone. So if you noticed here, this is the external gateway that's actually marked Linkville below here that we show, and it comes with a belt clip that's shown here. But when you look at the menu, what everybody needs to do when it comes out of the box is connect this device onto the Wi-Fi network. How do we do that? We can go ahead and press on the menu screen. It actually comes in with several different setups. And what you can do here is just move on over to the basic screen. And when you press it, you can entertain different languages. The great news is that this thing supports several different languages, from Asian, English, Spanish, French. All of these different types of languages can be supported. But for setting up for wireless LAN, you go down to wireless LAN here and you press OK. And it's going to give you a bunch of different solutions where you have these different things. And if you set up available network, as one would do on their Bluetooth phone, it'll actually scan out and show you what types of SSIDs are out there that you can go ahead and log into. And obviously, I have a SSID called Fanville that we selected. And once you select that, you're going to come up and it's going to ask you for a password. And you can go ahead and use this pound key here to really toggle between alphanumeric, capital, or lowercase keys that will enable you to go ahead in and put in your password as you see necessary. And once you have that thing set up, the next thing you need to do then is to really move forward and being able to access the internal GUI. How do you do that? Well, what you can do is then go up here, and once you get logged in, you'll be assigned an IP address. And once you're assigned the IP address, you go back to your network and you really identify what is your IP address. And here you'll actually see, 10.0.0.28 is my local IP address that I can see here. Write that down on a piece of paper, because then once you get that IP address, you can put that in your browser, which I'll show in a few minutes, and then you can go ahead and configure the phones accordingly. I mentioned earlier that you can go ahead and access function keys, right? And the way you access function keys is being able to find out, let's see, where you actually access these keys. So in addition to the color screen here, you have two different sides here that's by default. You can press on the left side and you'll actually see 8 different function keys that you have access to. And you notice that there are actually 2 windows that you have here. And I'll go back and you can access the other 8 by pressing the right-hand side here, which gives you another 8 function keys. And the great news is that when you use the push to talk button side here, you can actually program it to access all of the different calls that you need to access, whether it be a preset people, so it could send out a multicast notification saying, hey, somebody's in trouble, or you want to provide some sort of multicast environment. And that's the different way that you can set it up. How do you set up these keys? I'm going to show you that in a minute as I move on over to the internal configuration. So as I take this and move on over, I'm going to go ahead and show you the internal configuration now. So as I show you this screen, you notice that on top of here on the URL, I copied your IP address here, and you'll get the administrative screen here. The default login is obviously admin and admin. And once you log in, what people will end up seeing, oops, sorry, I must have retyped this. And what people tend to see is what people are typically used to seeing in their login environment, right? Whereas you can go ahead, and what I suggest once you get the phone is you can go ahead and provide an upgrade, right? Everybody needs to do this, whether you're working with any IP device or PCs for that matter. You can go ahead and select where you want to go ahead and download the latest firmware onto this device. How do you get it? It's pretty simple. You just log into our home page here, which is fanvil.com. Go over to the support and the download center. And once you go to the download center, it's really the center point here for where you could find not only the firmware, but all the documents and related videos you could find on our device. And here it just defaults to W611W, and you could just download this to wherever PC platform that you might have. And then once you selected the directory, you can just go ahead, go there and press upgrade, and then you can go away for a coffee and tea when you come back. This is all said and done. And if you want to look at some of the other things, like taking a look at different lines, the great differentiator about this phone is that it can handle up to 4 SIP lines. And this is really some of the largest in the industry, where you can go ahead and program up to 4 separate SIP lines, just like you would see in our particular phone settings. And you can go ahead and set up different things where you can set up your phone settings here, as well as I talk about the function keys, which I talked about earlier before. Here you can go ahead and talk about the DSS keys, and this is where I talked about page 1 versus page 2. You could toggle between these pages, and as I showed earlier, you can actually go back and forth and see which pages you want to actually program and what kind of functions available. I'll look at these different menu items, and you can see you could do memory key, line keys, key events. You could actually set up a DTMF tone, which is actually this key tone that you could program one of these keys to kick off an open door key, what have you, from a remote location. Obviously here you could set up, BLF's multicast paging or actually multicast listening. So you could set these keys up to do a lot of different features just for you doing, and then you could actually have access through one button access. Obviously here you could set up a lot of different call logs and things, but this is kind of a quick overview that I want to set up. If you want to do things like setting up the PTT key, you can obviously do this in the back, and you can set this thing up to do lots of different functions as well. So depending on how you want to program it, these are things that we give you the capability of making this platform operate the way you want to go ahead and operate that. Okay. Now, with that said, I'm going to go back here to my presentation setup. And hopefully that will give you a quick idea on how to set up this device on your own. It took most people about technically inclined between 10 and 15 minutes. Hopefully now you can set it up within 2 or 3. Okay. With that said, I wanted to go ahead and outline some of the promotions that we're running for this device. We have a demo program that you can actually get 50% off of MSRP here for a demo that runs from now until the end of March, and you can limit to 2 per unit per guest. If you want to go ahead and do that, go ahead and contact our distribution network, as well as your local Fanvil contact, and we'll give you more information. Obviously, we have a deal rebate program as well. So if you buy 50 more above of this, you get really 5% off of whatever retail price that you go ahead and get it from. And these are really programs that we do if you want to go ahead and buy this in bulk. I asked before, what are our distributions? Well, I'll send you a quick distribution list. And for those who need a soft copy of this, I encourage you to go to our handout section, and you can take the handouts and actually download a soft copy of this presentation for your own personal reference. We have it both for USA and Canada, as well as the contact names for your specific reference. Now what I'll do is I'll move on for questions and answers. For those who have any questions, I highly suggest you go into our question box that's located here. And what I'll do is I'll try to answer these questions one at a time, and I'll stick around. I have a few plans to work here. Okay, one question that I have is offer data solution. Let me see. Any plans to work with data sales to offer devices solution sales for your products? Yeah, in fact, we actually have partners out there that actually work with device as a solution sales to provide different purchasing options for you, so that I would suggest you contact our different partners out there that provide financing to all of our partners out there that need specific financing programs to help out. I mean, given the increase in many of the interest rates that are going on out there, I think that's probably a great question to ask, and I appreciate you asking that. How does it handle switching access points? It does have roaming, so that if you actually have the capability of roaming from one access point to another, you're not confined to just one point. You can go ahead and move on. As long as you're going ahead and have consistent access to the internet, you can go ahead and actually roam around wherever there is strong Wi-Fi access. It's no different than actually having a Wi-Fi extender in your home office, where you can go ahead and do that and move from one location to another. The ones for sale, I assume, aren't backwards. I'm not necessarily sure what you mean by that. When you say it's not backwards, I mean, these things can comply to both 2.4, 5 gigahertz, as well as being compatible with Wi-Fi 6. So depending on what network you have, you can go ahead and do that. You mentioned DSS keys could define what buttons. How do you go ahead and do that? Hopefully, I can show you where those DSS keys was located. I actually showed you where they are and how you access it externally. But as I showed you, once you get the external, you can go internal to the DSS key configuration and set that up, and so that you can go ahead and move forward. Let me see. Can the background wallpaper be uploaded? I think at this point in time, I don't believe the wallpaper can be uploaded. But that's something I haven't necessarily explored. I mean, this is a remote device that kind of hangs on a person's belt. I'm not sure the added value, but if that's something you want, I can go ahead and take a look at that. Does it support, what are the plans that have wireless devices with H.264 video? Now, if you need H.264 video, I would highly suggest you look at our desk phones. Nearly all series products that we have with H.264 desk phones will provide you that level of clarity, because those will have the codec inside, so you can go ahead and reach into it. But in this case, for a portable phone, it's primarily audio only for that. How soon will 3CX support it? Well, in this case, that's still in discussion right now with 3CX. But what we do have right now, we've actually developed a template. So we started being ahead of the wave. And if happens to be a 3CX provider, we actually have templates that actually are compatible with 3CX, so that you can get ahead of the game by taking this device, uploading the templates that we've already got for you, so you can go ahead and actually work this and upload it onto the configurator, so that you can go ahead and do that. Is this supported on NetSapiens with any key builder? No, not yet. I mean, these are discussions that we're having in the future. I mean, we would love to have it on there, so that's a to-do item for me. But just like we've gone ahead and built a configurator and templates, that's something that we could tend to do as well for any platform for that matter. But in general, if your needs are modest and you have a few, these are actual SIP-based configurations, so that you could actually put this together, or you could use our Fanvil device management system and put together, these type of platforms and be able to program these devices in mass if you want to, moving forward in the future. So you really have two options. If it's not already in the provisioning server of the PBX platform, the other alternative is either using our template or templates that are available, or using our our cloud-based platform to be able to go ahead and do that. Okay. Let me see. Are there any plans to have wireless devices that is capable? Well, the wireless devices that we have, I'm showing you this device. Some of our desk phone devices are actually wireless capable. Many of the devices that we have, like the V65 as well, do have the H.264 codec, but it also has Wi-Fi built in, but it doesn't necessarily have the portability of being able to carry that with you. So that's all that we can do for now. But you obviously have mobile phone access, and one of the things that give you a heads up is, we're coming out with an application that will provide you with that capability moving forward, but we're also working with third-party mobile applications that give you the H.264 mobility access so that you can see these cameras from a remote location. So all of these options are going to be coming to your plate moving forward, so that's what we're going to end up doing. Let me see. Does it use the same configuration code structure as the Fanvil X series? That's a very good question. When you look at the device, the graphics and everything is, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think we have one SIP stack. I would be shocked that if it's not, but I don't want to send you down. But I think if you actually have templates that actually work with our so-called SIP stack, it should port very well onto this device. The only difference here is that if you plan to configure the DSS keys, obviously they're located in a different location. Is this a Linux-based OS or Android? This is not an Android device. This is really a Linux-based device. So you can go ahead and actually program these devices in. So that hopefully that'll provide some clarity onto it. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of listing of different PBXs. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is a SIP device. If you want some more templates, we're more than happy to go ahead and work with many of the different PBX manufacturers to go ahead and get templates made if necessary, or to work with them to automate it and put it on their platform. But we have a vested interest in doing that ourselves. So, let us know what you need, and trust me, we want to get these things out there and as well be very compatible with your specific implementations to save you time in the field. Okay, does it support VPN, and what kind of VPN does it have? That's a very good question. I didn't necessarily look into that VPN access. I do know that that's a very good question. I can go back and actually, let me see if I could take a look on this last question that I have to see whether or not it actually has access. Let me see if I can gain access to this. I could look under security to see firewall certificates, device certificates. I'm not necessarily sure where one would actually do this, but I would have to come back to see what type of firewalls or whatever that I could have to kind of provide it. But as I see now, auto provisioning tools, obviously here for auto provisioning, it does support many of the DHCP options here in configurations, but I don't necessarily see at this point that, so I would have to follow up. I suggest you probably send a question over to support@fanvil.com to see whether or not this device will support any VPN needs that you have. Okay, so I just want to do a quick look at, I think on network menu. Okay, on the network menu, let me see here. Wi-Fi, oh, here we go. Thanks for the guidance. So it does have VPN mode, and it does have OpenVPN. So here we go. That answers the question. I appreciate the guidance out there. So the answer to your question is yes, it does have VPN mode, and you can go ahead and configure it accordingly here. So I appreciate the guidance out there. I'm primarily a nurse on these technical issues, but obviously there are a lot of doctors here who can give me great guidance. So with that said, I appreciate your guidance. That's all that I have for now. And anyhow, I'll stick around afterwards to see if there's any further questions. But without any further questions, I want to thank everybody for your time. And if you have any further questions, feel free to send me a copy of your email. You can reach me at tommy.lee@fanvil.com, or just, send it to sales@Fanvil, and you'll be more than happy to get any questions. Again, thank you all, and I appreciate your time today. If you have any questions, send any technical questions to support@fanvil.com, or any sales-related questions, send it directly to sales@fanvil.com, or to me, tommy.lee@fanvil.com. Okay? Either way, look forward to crossing paths soon, and take care and stay healthy. Bye-bye.